Join me in this episode as I share with you the one clearing I did where I was frightened by both the spirits and the living. There was a location in Maine that started to get a lot of attention. It was a haunted location, and the owner would sell tickets to people to be able to spend the night there and have their own haunted experience. This place became popular, so much so that it ended up being featured on an episode of a ghost hunting show. And the ghost hunting team that I was a part of found a great opportunity to step in and do an investigation at this location, fully knowing that at the end of the location investigation, we would do what we always do, and we would clear the property. We arrived there late at night because we wanted to make sure that our investigation wasn't disturbed by ongoing traffic or anything like that. And the homeowner left, so the property was empty. We arrived, there was 4 of us on the team, 2 males, 2 females, including myself, and we arrived in 2 vehicles. When we got there, a very fascinating thing happened. Paranoia started to kick in. Now, over the course of the evening, I was able to gather more information as to why paranoia set in for us, but we weren't aware that this is what was happening to us when we arrived. This was one of those rare situations where the energy of a location is so strong and so intense that it can actually play tricks on you. So we get there, and the 4 of us, over the course of, I suspect, the first hour, we were walking around, setting up equipment, getting everything in order, getting our audios, in sync and all of that. And over the course of the hour, all 4 of us expressed our own version of paranoia. It was as if this energy that had been built up on this property had built up so strongly that when you step into the energy, that which would make you scared would happen to you, or you would think in those terms. For example, one of the males felt heightenedly on guard. He said, I feel like I should have like a weapon. And I'm like, we are in the middle of Maine, in the middle of nowhere. All that's around us is farm. We're fine. There's no reason why you might need that. And the other person that was really affected by paranoia was the other female, myself included, but the other female in that first hour, she was very intuitive. And she picked up an energy that was in the woods right behind the home. And I recall her saying, there's a grave back there. There's an unmarked grave back there of a young man that passed away. And he had to be like just a teenager. He was so young. And for me, my paranoia set in when I arrived. I couldn't see spirits. I couldn't see the energy. I could feel it. I knew I was in a bad spot, but I couldn't see what was causing such volatile energy. Now, the woman's paranoia came from the fact that she was a single mom. She was a single mom to a teenage boy, and he was her world. So her greatest fear was losing him. My greatest fear going into a haunted location is not being able to see what I'm going up against and what I'm dealing with. And the other gentleman's greatest fear was, being caught off guard and perhaps in danger from living people. So all of us are just, you can imagine, we're all heightened. And I'm telling you this as if I understand it, because I do understand it now that it's done. But during this time, at first, none of us were aware that we were feeling paranoia. We were just reacting to what was happening to us and what we were sensing. And it took a little bit. I remember walking through the house, trying to pick up any energies. I walked down into the basement, and I sensed that there was a female there. And I got this, and it was all just the knowing. the visions that I had that were so strong weren't happening for me. Auditory wasn't happening for me. It was just this knowing. And I knew there was a girl down there. I knew she was female. I knew that she had been brutally hurt in this basement and that she needed help, but I couldn't see her and I couldn't quite grab on to where she was. It took me some time, and all I could do was expand out huge amounts of white light energy in hopes that I could help her to cross over, because I felt like I was walking through the darkness. I couldn't see what I was doing. Normally I can, and I helped her the best I could. And then I recall walking outside, and we were all outside at this point. It was about a little after 2 a.m, maybe even 3 a.m. And I felt an energy going around the outside of the property. And it was an energy that felt almost like wolves circling us. And no one was there, but I felt this energy and I expressed it as such. I said, I feel like something is walking around the perimeter, like trying to hunt us. And I don't feel okay. I don't feel safe, which is unusual because it wasn't intuitively that I was picking up that perhaps somebody at some point didn't feel safe. I did not feel safe. And this is the only time this has ever happened to me in a clearing. That's when others in the group started to discuss, I don't feel so safe either. I feel like feels like there's something really, really wrong here, and I can't put my finger on it. And we all agreed, let's just clear this place and get out of here, because whatever we stirred up when we arrived, and I believe we stirred it up because we came with the intention of clearing. What was there had the intention that it was going nowhere, and we were not going to move it. So we instantly showed up with the right intention, and the energy and the spirits that were there that were stuck, that were not of the most positive nature, had a different idea. So instead of trying to identify them one by one, because I felt so weak with my intuition, we as a group decided we were going to clear this place overall. We were going to use candles and sweetgrass and white light, and we were just going to submerge this entire place in white light with as much positive intent as we can. So we're talking through the logistics of this, standing in the yard, 2-3 in the morning, very dark out because we are in the middle of, a very small town in Maine, and headlights come down the road. Now, mind you, these headlights came toward the property as we were planning to clear the place. We hadn't cleared it yet. And 3 trucks pulled into the location. I recall it was 3. This was all a blur. Might have been 2 trucks. Doesn't matter. Trucks pulled in, and out of these trucks poured a bunch of big, burly men and 1 female, the homeowner. They all got out. None of them said a word. 2 of us, the other male and the other female on the team, went into the house. Me and the remaining male on the team jumped into my car. It was this reaction of, get into the car, we'll be safe. We instantly felt fearful for our lives. And these men got out, and the woman, the female owner of the home, got out. She walked into the house, and the men started to scatter slowly. They're silent. They would be looking at us, and then they would look away. 2 of them decided to start walking around the perimeter of the property, just like I had picked up earlier, like 2 wolves kind of scouting the situation. A couple of other men walked into the building. So now here we are. We're on this property with some of the heaviest energy that I've ever felt, energy that was bringing up paranoia in us. And now we're surrounded by living males, and who are not saying anything, quietly walking around, watching us as we go about our what we were doing. And I said to the male in the car, I said, what do we do? He was like, I don't know. What should we do? And I do what I always do in that moment. I asked my guide, And at the time, my guide was Big Dog, who was helping me with this clearing because it was really early on in my clearing path. I asked him, I said, what do we do? And he said, oh, it's time for you guys to pack up and go. And I took that as get out, get out, get out, get out. Because I was in that energy, that paranoid energy. And so walked into the building, said to the leader of the ghost hunting team, I said, I think it's time for us to go. And I think we should pack up. And he said, you know what? I agree. Let's pack up. And so we're all grabbing equipment. And we have so much paranoia that our equipment comes in these suitcases that intricately have the cutouts in them for every little piece, every little cord, every little battery has its own place in these suitcases. And I'm telling you, we didn't put stuff in their spots. We literally grabbed stuff, crammed them in these suitcases, shut the suitcases, and immediately brought them out to our cars. And we're trying to stay calm because we're amongst all of these males that are quietly standing in corners of the room and watching us. And we weren't sure what we were dealing with. And the leader said, leader of the ghost hunting group said to me and my partner, there's equipment, and don't forget the equipment in the basement. Okay. So we went together because we weren't going to be separated at this point. And the partner that I had went down the stairs first. I followed behind him. At the bottom of these stairs, this is a dirt cellar basement, stone walls, dirt floor, one window, about as big as it would need to be for, I don't know, a 4-year-old to crawl out of it. It's very enclosed. And we get down to the bottom, and over on the wall is a washer dryer. And this is where we had set the equipment on. And we get to the bottom and we turn around to face the washer dryer. And next to it is sitting one of these males, one of these living men that had come and gotten out of the truck. And he's in the basement and he's sitting there. He doesn't say a word to us. He just smiles. And I have now run through my head everything that I think is going to happen to me. And I look at my partner and said, I'm just going to grab these wires. And he says, yep, I'm going to grab the equipment. Here we go. And we grabbed it and we yanked it from the wall. We're still trying to be calm. We walked back to the bottom of the stairs and looked up to the top of the stairs. And at the top of the stairs is another one of these males that is standing there holding the door, looking down at us. And he smiles and he nods his head once, and then he shuts the basement door. I don't think I have ever been that frightened. And I looked up at the door and thought, if that's locked, I'm going to lose it. I'm just going to lose it. I took a breath, started climbing the stairs. My ghost hunting partner was climbing up the stairs behind me, opened the door. It wasn't locked. Whew. Walk out of the house with this equipment. We threw it into a case, walked out, put the case in the suitcase. And I said to my guide again, what do we do? And the guide said, it's time for you to go home. I said, okay. Now, even heightened as you can imagine, I walk back into the house and I say to the leader of the team, I said, Big Dog says it's time to go. And he was such a great leader and he trusted me so much. We had been on so many investigations together and he trusted me that what I saw was actual. And he said, okay, let's go. And we grabbed everything we got out. We said, it was really nice to meet you. It was really great to meet you. We're going to head out. You guys have a great night. And we jumped in our cars and we tore down the road. It was like, we are out of here. And we got about 2 miles down the road that the home was on, and we pulled over. And at the time, 3 out of 4 of us were smokers, and we pulled over and we got out and we were shaking and we lit our cigarettes and we all took like a puff or two. And then we were like, okay, we're not far enough away. And we put our cigarettes out, got back in our cars, drove even further, turned right down a road for a while, took another left down a different road, and we saw a garden center that was closed. Obviously, it's now 3-4 in the morning. And we pulled into the garden center with the 2 cars and got out again. And we said, okay, I think we're far enough away. Right when we said that, another truck, a different truck, came down the road, stopped, turned around, came back, pulled into this empty parking lot that we were in about 50 yards away from us, stopped, rolled down the window, stared at us for a while. It was too dark for us to be able to see who was in the truck. And then they decided to leave. So this is not helping any of our paranoia at all. And I turned to the group. I said, we can clear this place. We can clear us. We can do all this right here, right now. Let's get into a circle. Let's get this done. And we're like, yes. And everyone got together and we came together in the circle and filled it with white light, filled it, did not stop. Here's your intention. How much white light can you bring in? We're going to clear this property. And I energetically brought myself back to the property that we were at. I did one huge swoop. And when I did that, all of the energy lifted, and I could see a group of spirits that had in the past created a space of fear, created a space of terror, not only for their family members, but for other people in the community. This clearly had been the home that you don't go to unless you want trouble. And that had started long ago. And the intent was to keep it that way. It was a controlling energy. It was a don't look at what we're doing energy. And all of that had come together. So from a distance, from miles away in an empty parking lot, 3-4 in the morning, we cleared the property. Oh, it was done. And then that's when we started to feel the energy fade away. And it wasn't until I got home and I walked through my front doors, and instantly walking through my front doors felt completely fine, that I could turn back and look and go, wow, we were affected by paranoia. Now, this paranoid energy that we were affected by, when you were affected by it, you didn't realize you were being affected by it. If we did, that would have been easy. Could have just GCP'd with this intent, we could have done the work, but it had sunk in so much. It right on through to the point where it kind of immobilized you to where I didn't even think about doing GCP, or I didn't even think about, clearing myself in the moment. I was submersed in the energy, and I was instantly brought in to this feeling that this family had created years and years earlier, and that it had stayed there. There were hangings by chain. There were really, really horrible things that had happened to this property. And all of these things flashed through, and I started to see them when we were finally at a distance, clearing it from a distance. In addition to a few of the spirits that had stayed there to hold this energy, there were also spirits there that had been affected by the energy and needed to be released as well. Overall, even though these were negative spirits, not all of them, but the ones that had been building up this kind of torturous paranoid energy, even though they were negative in nature, it was clear when the clearing was done that they were doing it to hold on to something that they knew. And I know that sounds odd, but they were desperately trying to hold on to something that they were new out of fear of punishment. If they were to cross over, it wasn't the light that they thought they were going to cross over. It was like pure darkness that they had played with in their human life. They've now passed away. They were sure that they were going to be sucked into that darkness as well. So by assisting them, showing them, you're not going to be sucked into darkness, you can cross over, all was well. They were able to cross over. We were able to clear out all of the energy in that space. Now, here's the fun part. The next day, I had a lecture in a local library that I had to do. So I drove my car there and I was parked in the parking lot. And the leader of the ghost hunting team called me and he said, I have some really interesting news for you. And I said, what is it? And he said, remember how we were all wearing audios? I said, yeah. And he said, remember how we were all so paranoid with the energy there? I said, yeah. And he said, and you remember those guys that all pulled in and kind of surrounded us and we were really spooked out? I said, oh yeah, I'll never forget that. He said, I have them on recording. When we weren't in certain rooms, they were talking really low to each other. Turns out this homeowner had simply brought 6 or 7 friends to her home out of excitement that there was a ghost hunting team there. These men meant no harm. They were staying quiet and they were smiling because they were just interested in the fact that they were witnessing a ghost hunting team in action. This is literally the conversations that were picked up on the recordings. Meanwhile, the 4 of us are scampering around like scared mice, thinking we're going to be harmed, when in essence, we were perfectly safe all along. Here's the coolest part. Actually, if that wasn't, fun enough, I hang up with the team leader. I get out of my car. I start walking toward this library, which was also in Maine. And there was a huge banner there for an event that was coming up. And the banner said, "A safe walk in Maine." And in that moment, I saw Big Dog show up in front of me, smile and chuckle a little bit and say, "You were safe all along." That's when I got to look back at the moments that Big Dog told me to leave. He didn't say run. He didn't say you're in trouble. He just gently said, "Yeah, it's time for you to go." And I interpreted it as, we got to get out of here. So this was an interesting moment. It was one of the very few moments where I've experienced pure paranoid energy along with the team members. And even though we bolted, we were still able to turn our attention back to this property, to all of the spirits stuck there, whether they were aggressive or not, to help them cross over. Because in the end, ghosts are people too.
This podcast is brought to you by the SAGE Method, the most comprehensive and down-to-earth intuitive development training available. Is this your year? Is it finally your time to increase your intuition, bring in more abundance, and experience the bliss you deserve? If yes, then join thousands of students across the world for a 7-week journey to uncover your natural, beautiful, and strong intuition. Visit us at thesagemethod.com for more information.